So the federal government is ready and willing to put cash into your pockets. Not just thousands of dollars, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking about $30,000 to sign up and join the mission today. Now, they would rather not give you anything. So why are they doing this? They're doing it because it's hard to get people into those jobs. Now, we saw something very similar take place in ICE, the Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency. They were given up to $50,000. This is another agency. This is still under the Department of Homeland Security. This is CBP, Customs and Border Protection. This agency is about 2 to 3 times bigger than ICE. So the first position they're trying to fill is Border Patrol Agent. This will have you on an ATV or on a horse patrolling that border, going up and down. It's rigorous. It's dangerous. You're going to be strapped. You're going to have a firearm on you because things can get hairy. Things can get dangerous out there. Starting off, you're looking at up to $70,000. But it's kind of difficult. It takes a while, probably at least 8, 9, 10 months. You have an academy requirement. So the main thing that holds people up here, you're looking at the polygraph test, right? That knocks out 40% of the people. Only about 60% are able to pass the polygraph. You have your physical fitness test. You have your medical examination. You have your background check, all of that. So that's the first one. That's where they're offering the $30,000. The next one is a CBP officer. Now, this position, I would say, is less dangerous. You're still going to be strapped. You still have the firearm. But if you compare the two, it's easier to become a CBP. It's less time intensive. You can get into the role a little bit quicker. Now, CBP, what are you talking about? You're talking about trying to identify human traffickers, trying to see who's smuggling the drugs. They're coming in with vehicles. They're coming in with a bunch of people. Do they have drugs on their body? Talking about cocaine. Meth. Meth is a huge one. Meth is like, last year they discovered 100,000 pounds of meth. Then what else? Fentanyl. That's another one. Heroin. That's another one. Even some LSD. They mix it up in there, right? So you're trying to make these drug busts. And that's one of the reasons why they need people into that position. For the CBP officer, you're looking at something, I think it's 15% of your base salary. That's the recruitment incentive. So you're probably looking at 10,000, 10 to 15, maybe 20,000 at the most if you go ahead and sign up. But you have to ask yourself, are you ready to go through all of those exams? Like I said, they wouldn't be offering this money if it were easy to ramp up. If, the Trump administration could easily get these people in without paying money, believe me, that's what they would do. And if you compare this route into getting into the federal government to, let's say, a more typical route coming in, let's say an administrative type job, you can easily get an admin job in the federal government. Well, let's say before the hiring freeze, you could easily get one in 3 to 4 months. That was a realistic timeline to get the job. You wouldn't have to go to any special academy, firearm training, or anything like that. You could work as an analyst, pick an agency, Department of Agriculture, Department of Justice, HUD, Veteran Affairs. You could do that, and it would be pretty simple, easy transition from a private sector job into the federal government. When you're talking about law enforcement, it's a lot more difficult. There's a lot more complications. Now, we saw with ICE, they were willing to remove all of their age restrictions. That hasn't been done to the same extent with CBP. So there are age requirements, 19 to 40. That's generally, that's kind of the age span that they're looking for. 40 is with a waiver if you're a veteran, because typically it's 37, so 19 to 37. Then you have 2 more positions they're trying to hire for. One is an air interdiction agent, and one is a marine interdiction agent. So air, basically you're in an aircraft or you're operating a drone. Same mission, you're trying to find smuggling and drug trafficking. Now, for these 2 positions, you get the incentive if you're willing to be stationed around the Caribbean. Apparently, that's where a lot of the smuggling is coming through. The number 1 port in this country that's seeing the most drug bust is San Diego, California, and I think a number 2 is probably El Paso, Texas. I've actually lived in El Paso for a few years. Wasn't too crazy about it. You know, a lot of red dirt, a lot of tumbleweeds flying around. Some people love it. It wasn't for me. But those are the 2 ports where you're going to see the most activity. Now, taking it back to the interdiction agents, a lot of times the Marine and the air interdiction agents, they work on joint missions in order to stop a lot of this illegal activity that's taking place. In all of these jobs, you're going to have an element of adventure. You're going to have an element of risk or danger. And it takes a specific type of person in a specific point in their life to raise their hand and sign up and say, hey, put me in, coach. I'm ready. I can handle it. Now, for me, I'm 43 years old. I'm not ready for that type of lifestyle. I don't want to go back into that type of lifestyle because when I was 17, I went into an Army recruiter office and I became a combat engineer. So I went on interdiction missions throughout the Balkan Mountains. I've been on demolition missions throughout Iraq. I've had more than my share of adventure. And at this point in time, I do not want to earn my pay by having a firearm strapped on me. Now, that's just me. There's not enough money in the world that you could pay me to go back into like a high risk type environment where I have a firearm each and every day. And that's that's how I'm earning my money. That's not how I want to earn my money. Now, you could be in a different situation. We need people that are willing to take that risk to go out there and then to defend, the country. So that is required. And if you feel that calling, well, they're giving you tens of thousands of dollars here. And a lot of people are raising their hand to sign up for this only to find out that they're being disqualified right off the bat. Either background check or really the big thing that holds people up is going to be the medical exam. There's something in your medical history, whether it's, autism or knee problems, back problems, asthma, something is in your history that might disqualify you. And if they cannot get enough people, they're probably going to increase those bonuses, those recruitment bonuses. If you find yourself interested for any one of these 4 jobs, you can rest assured that CBP has hiring events pretty much every single month. I want to say they do it 2 or 3 times a month. So you can go to cbp.gov or you can sign up to the newsletter down below and I'll push that information out to you. You attend those, you can talk to some of their recruiters. Sometimes you can talk to some of their human resource specialists and you can start the process of getting into one of those jobs or starting the process to go to the academy, because that'll probably be the first step. Once they clear you, do the background check, they'll probably ship you off to the academy and you'll start doing that. Now, some people are worried because they're thinking that they're only surging up these agencies because of the current administration, because of the Trump administration. What happens in 3 years? Do you have job security? Do you have job stability? Will the next president potentially downsize ICE, Department of Homeland Security, CBP, or whatever? That's always a possibility. But if you start working in one of these positions, you can find it a lot easier to transfer to another agency, not necessarily in a law enforcement capacity. You can use some of your administrative skills that you have learned by being a CBP officer. You're filling out reports, right? So you can use some of that in order to potentially compete in another agency. So there are lateral movement position opportunities later down the road. I wouldn't let the fact that you think this is just temporary, like they're only surging this temporary and then they're going to kick me to the curb. I don't think that's going to apply to a lot of people. I think if you are interested in continuing a federal career, you will find other agencies to jump to later down the road. Now, in addition to this, if you are a federal employee, maybe you're thinking about joining the federal government, the way that they're doing the performance reviews is changing. It's starting at the top. So the senior executives, what they're doing is they're removing a rule that said you cannot do forced distribution. So that enables the government now to use forced distribution if they would like to. So if you want to know more about that, check this video out next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.